Hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to talking to Shane Ziegler. Shane, welcome to the show. Happy New Year. I think I can say that throughout this entire week. Let me give you a quick intro. You are the Vice President in USI's Metro DC region with the primary responsibility of new business origination and client advocacy while aligning your resources to cater to the client's specific risk management needs. Your primary focus is real estate, working with all verticals in the real estate industry, but a primary focus on multifamily owners and developers. So you sell insurance for multifamily owners.
That's right. That's right,
Yeah.
John. Thanks for having me on. Really for all real estate verticals, but
yeah,
over the last 24 months, I've had a really strong focus on multifamily. As you know, it's been a really hot market for real estate buyers. So there's been a lot of activity around that for us on the insurance side as well.
Yeah. So Shane, let's talk about just for a couple things. One, let's talk about just the real estate market as we sit today, right? We're coming off of a very frothy market, hot market. I personally, having been in the business, don't see the market slowing down, at least anytime soon as we sit here the first week in January. But just kind of give us a little insight on what's going on in the market and why people should be looking looking at their insurance policies or with new companies and things of that nature.
Yeah. So starting with the real estate market specifically as it relates to insurance, over the last 24 months, we've seen a very large impact on the insurance marketplace. And what we are in right now is called a hard market. For the last 20 years, we've been in a soft market where insurance is a little bit easier to get and it's more affordable. But even before COVID started, a few different factors have come into play that have made it really hard for owners to buy property insurance, for example. And in addition to COVID coming and disruptions in business, insurance has become very expensive and the market capacity has shrunk and become more small. So it's harder for owners to go out in the marketplace and find the proper coverage that they need. On top of this, when you look at the habitational market, whether that's market rate housing, student housing, or affordable housing, the market's already even more limited. And it's really two different factors. One of them is catastrophic losses that we've seen in the United States and across the globe over the last few years. Those losses from those events have become larger and larger, as you can imagine. And then in addition, we've seen a lot of nuclear verdicts when it comes to liability in the courtroom. So when you add those two things up, that's basically put us into double-digit rate increases every quarter for the last 8 quarters. And it doesn't seem to be slowing down a little bit, but we're still seeing rate increases where back in the day, it may have been more normal for there to be a flat increase or maybe 1% to 2% increase depending on the line of coverage. Yeah. Couple that with other lines of business like cyber insurance, and you can see all the things that are happening. You can read it in the news pretty much every day. More attacks, more personal information is getting out there, and really across all lines of business, we've seen a lot of losses in recent years. Yeah.
It was like a white paper, Shane. I loved that. That was like that was a white paper kind of market update. That was great. That was great. So now let's rewind a little bit, right? And I think I'm always interested in why people pick the businesses that they're in, especially today as people are kind of looking at their businesses and reflecting on what they really want to do and why they want to do it and the companies that they want to work for. So give me the 2-minute Reader's Digest version. Give the Think community on how you got to today, because I'm also a believer that success is never a straight line. So how did you get to today where you are at USI?
Yeah, definitely. So it all started in Philadelphia. I went to Temple University, to the Fox School of Business, and I was going through my basic introductory classes, your accounting, your finance. And what was different about Temple University is one of your core classes in entry level business classes was risk management and insurance. And I had heard about this class and people said the class was really difficult and it was a vigorous program. And I got into that class and I just had a really great time. Yeah. I really enjoyed the content in the class and the program. I'll give a shout out to Temple University's risk management program any day. We're one of the largest suppliers of risk management individuals really across the United States. I think there's 500 kids in the program at any given time now. So I actually studied it. A lot of people fall into this business, but I actually chose to study it, and that was my discipline at Temple. So
well, let's pause for 1 second, because I just want to highlight one thing, and I want to highlight, one of the most important things I think in business and in life is choosing who to listen to, right? And so, if we are influenced by the wrong people, not necessarily that they had bad intentions, but doesn't mean that we need to listen to them, right? We've got to kind of put ourselves in certain situations because that may be our path. And so listening to our own instincts, following our own path, listening to people maybe as a guide, but ultimately making a decision. Because, if you look at it with a different lens, some people would have maybe not taken that class or maybe switched their major or, done something. And maybe I'm not talking to Temple, but maybe anywhere.
Right.
And sometimes a specific class with a specific teacher can be eye-opening. I remember when I was in college, I double majored in journalism and economics. And I ended up getting, I took 2 economics classes and decided I wanted to major in it. So I retook them because I wanted to get even more fundamentals. And I never loved economics, but I decided to major in it. And I had a teacher that rocked my world that was so good that changed my whole perception. And if I listened to people that, economics is hard, then I wouldn't have had this teacher. I wouldn't have had the teacher, Deb Feigart, who really changed my whole perception of what economics was, because she was such a phenomenal teacher. So kudos to teachers, and kudos to you for, keeping, just ended up taking the class regardless of what you heard about it.
No, right. And I think to piggyback off of that, John, is it's just people in general, not even just at school, right? So when you asked about my background, it all started at Temple, but really the person who first hired me out of school, who's one of my biggest mentors to this day, I really followed him into the business and really learned a lot of the hands-on stuff when I actually got into the field.
Yeah.
And I actually worked with him at 2 different large global corporations for the first few years of my career. So sticking with him and learning the way, that was also really impactful after actually leaving campus and getting into the business insurance industry.
Yeah, I think that's great. And the power of mentorship is so important. It's so important. I see it all the time. As a business coach, I work with solopreneurs to Fortune 100 companies and everything in between. And yet I just got off the phone with, with somebody that I work with, young adult who's 20 in college, right? And now I'm working with him because he wants to get his son ready for the real world. Right. So why not work on those skill sets now? And so mentorship to me is absolutely the fastest way to success. What is one critical thing your mentor, what's his name?
Marcus Stevens.
What is one thing Marcus has taught you that really resonates very deeply, more so today than it did when he actually told it to you?
Right. I would say, being in a sales focused organization and just career, right? Production, commercial insurance production, right? Is just pure activity. And he really ripped that Band-Aid off. Yeah. And one of the things that I still use today in my sales efforts is the walk-in, right?
I love the walk-in. Yeah.
Actually getting out there. Not a lot of people do it today. It's really instrumental into my success now and in the past is getting a group of my peers together, getting a little uncomfortable, right? Not everybody's comfortable with walking into a business. So actually taking the time, mapping out kind of your territory for the day, really being thoughtful about that, but actually getting out and doing it and really holding each other accountable.
Yeah.
Because once you get in front of somebody in a purely cold situation, like you're only going to learn from those experiences. You're going to have some bad experiences, but when you have one good experience, it just makes the entire day worth it. So I would say Marcus really instilled that in me, and I've taken that to other companies that I've worked for and with, and I've also introduced that into their entire sales teams.
Yeah. And
we still do it today at USI. I do it with my boss now, and we have a really good time. We have a lot of fun doing it.
I love it. Right. Because, the the Walkins takes a bit of chutzpah. It takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of confidence. And I think one of the things that sometimes many salespeople don't have enough of is toughness and telephone. And what I mean by that is you've got to have really thick skin. You've got to do tough things. You got to say tough things. You got to be on the phone. The phone is a lost art. The tough thing of walking into somebody's building is a lost art. Those are things that really work to grow a business. You know, to me, as somebody who coaches a lot of salespeople as well as CEOs and everything in between, I always recommend go meet 100 people in the next 100 days. If you can't do 100, do 50. Pick whatever number it is, but go meet people. And if they won't meet you, just show up at their office. As long as your intent is clean and you have some value to give, call them, go meet them. That's it. Right. And so kudos to you for that very strong fundamental. Yes, your mentor shared it with you, but you actually did it and executed on it. So let's talk about the discipline of execution, because sometimes that can be difficult. And so how do you recalibrate, get back to center to execute in a disciplined way like you're talking about?
Right. No, that's a great question. So I think a lot of it has to do with being organized, right? So mapping things out on your calendar is a huge thing for me. I know, a lot of people spend some time on there, or they try to, at least, because you can get lost in your calendar when your days get filled up. So I set time aside every single day for prospecting in terms of finding new prospects. I set time aside every single day to actually make calls and log that activity.
Yeah.
And then I take time at the end of the day to really recap where I did a good job and where I didn't. Yeah. And taking that time helps me prepare to do it the next day and try to do it better. Yeah. If I didn't have time blocks or calendar blocks to keep me focused on that, it's really easy to get lost in the day.
Yeah.
I start the day reading different articles from publications in the DMV where I live to try to find out who's doing what, who's building what, who's going where, who's selling what, really. But then making sure that I take that information and I could turn it into activity as soon as I can. If I don't turn it into activity, it could be scribbled down on a piece of paper that I might not see for a few weeks. But when you block time after your research time to actually make that outreach and to make those calls, it helps you become a lot more successful, at least in my experience.
Yeah, love it. I can't tell you how many keynotes, group trainings, and coaching I've done on how to become a master student of your calendar. And people that are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, all over the world, when I speak on these topics, it is life-changing, the most fundamental things, and many of the things that you're talking about. So I couldn't agree more. To plug into that level of efficiency and effectiveness is so key. What's the favorite thing about what you get to do every day?
My favorite thing about what I get to do every day is just interact with people. Yeah. I love talking to people. I love learning about their businesses. That's what drove me to real estate specifically. It was something that I was already passionate about. It was something that I already tracked on my own, just to know what was going on in my own community. So getting to talk to those people every day who actually get to live in it allows me to also learn, and allows me to also have opportunities to invest down the road and actually learn about another industry outside of what I do every single day.
I love it.
So just interacting with people and learning their story and hearing about kind of their grind and how they got to where they are today is the best part of the job.
I love it. All right, quick speed round. You ready?
Yep, let's go.
Favorite book and why?
Favorite book and why? My favorite book is probably I Will Teach You to Be Rich. It's a book that I read every single year. I started reading it the year after I graduated school, and it just helps me stay focused. It's a 6-week guide to how to get your kind of finances in order. And I always like to remind myself every year that there are very simple things that you can do that can set you up for financial success in the long term.
I Will Teach You to Be Rich. Is it only on Audible?
No, you can get a hard copy. I've probably shared this book with at least 10 different friends. I bulk order it every year on Amazon and hand it out.
And do they all love it?
A lot of people like it. Sometimes, it's not everybody likes to read books, but I actually followed up with somebody this morning about the book because I gave it to them for the new year to make sure that they get on it.
Okay. All right, good. I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit.
Oh, I can't remember the author's name. It's Ramit.
Ramit. Yeah. All right. I'll teach you to be rich. No guilt, no excuses, no BS. I love it. All right, good. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Best piece of wisdom that I've ever received. That's a great question. I would say, trying to think here. I would say I had a professor in school that always told me that right people and the right jobs is really important. And I've always really thought about that when I thought about joining an organization and the culture of that organization. And am I truly going to be a good fit? Not only am I going to be financially successful there, but is it a place where I think that I can truly be happy? And I think that's really helped me in the organization that I joined today, and how I feel comfortable there. And I love the people that I work with, which makes my job even easier. So right people in the right job.
Good. I love it. Finish this sentence. Last question, Jane.
All right.
One reason everybody should read publications every single morning to kick off their day is?
You got to stay sharp. You got to stay sharp. If you're not reading, you're probably not learning at the end of the day. And that could be learning about a new industry. That could be learning about a grassroots organization in your community. If you don't know what's going on, you're going to end up falling behind. So that's why I take 20, 30 minutes every morning to read 3 local publications to really know what's happening around me.
Good. I do the same thing. I love that you do it. I think it's critical to growth. I spend usually about the first 1 to 2 hours every morning studying, reading, learning, and doing all of that. I think it's critical. I wake up at 5 a.m. and I just love to learn. I work out. It's the greatest. Tell everybody who your ideal clients are and how they can connect with you, Shane.
No, definitely. So I would say middle market type clients, think real estate. If you're thinking about multifamily, think 1,000 units and up. We do work with smaller, and we work with people as they grow their business as well. So we completely understand that. I would say the best way to reach me is shane.ziegler@usi.com, or you can find me on my LinkedIn, which is shane.ziegler as well. Yeah.
It's great. It's great. Shane, I appreciate a couple of things in community. I just want to highlight a couple of things Shane talked about. The importance of doing the fundamental things every single day, the importance of having mentors, the importance of time blocking, the importance of getting out there and meeting people, the importance of reading every single morning and being a student of your calendar and a student of value to your clients. And he showcased that also in the way that he just kind of introduced with that mini white paper right off the top. I loved it. Shane, appreciate you being on the show. Think community, if Shane can help you, please reach out to Shane. Shane, thanks, man. That was great. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, John. I really appreciate it.